Welcome back to Bass Brothers Fishing. Want to keep this intro nice and short today. Getting close to the end and it's almost time for the reveal. Got hydroturfing to do after this video and then it's time to reveal this Alumacraft 1232 all done. It is an awesome finish, guys. Love the way this boat came out. But before we get into that, want to get into something new to the channel, new to boat building for Bass Brothers, which is aluminum decking. On the previous build, I did all wood decking with carpet. This is going to be aluminum with hydroturf. Last thing I want to mention is stay tuned till the end of this video. At the end of this video, I'll be going over some key things you'll need to think about when doing aluminum decking on a John boat. These are key points that I think is really important for you to know if you're going to take on this kind of project. I'm using 1/16 inch aluminum sheeting for the decking, and I found this, I don't know, I'm just going to call it thick paper in a roll, a big roll at Home Depot, and said, let me try this for penciling off and marking out and getting my sizes right for my decking, as opposed to using cardboard, which can take a long time. I'll try to look it up to see exactly what this is, so I'll leave it in the description below. But it's a lot easier to use, it's a lot easier to bend and get in the corners. So what I did was just tape this down and traced out along the edges of the side of the boat and where I need to make my cut here and also my joining cut here. What I'll do is cut 3 pieces of sheeting to fill in where I need decking for the front deck. I'm gonna have one long piece here, a piece about this size right here above the hatch. I've got the hatch right underneath. I've got a space here I need to fill, and I need to fill this space too. Like I said, I have this piece traced out already. I'm gonna cut this out, stick it up on an aluminum sheet, trace it out, and then cut it out, and then fit it back in here and see how well I did. I did about 2 or 3 trimmings after the main cut just to get the curvature of the boat right, and also to get this piece cut out as well. All in all, this piece is done, and this is also the point where I get to know where I need to add additional support underneath, so I can see like this piece bows in a little bit. So what I'll need to do is put a piece of angle right here to add some support right in this corner, which means I'll need to do it over there as well. What I just realized is I just tried it out. I took this side and just flipped it over, put it over there, and it's pretty close. I think I'm gonna use this piece for that. I won't even need to trace it over. In the boat, I just flipped the paper over. So I'm actually gonna do the same exact thing over here, but flip it this way. And this will actually save me from wasting aluminum. All right, this is working out really well. So for here, I'll need to put a piece of angle here and here. Got these 3 pieces in, they're done, cut to size. I'll need to, of course, rivet them in, but we'll do that later once everything underneath is finalized. All final connections are made and everything is wrapped up. Rivet all this stuff in and then turf it. Got all the decking together for the majority of the front deck. Actually, all of the front deck, with the exception of just one strip right here that goes across. So after I get that strip, oh, one other thing I want to mention is, in case you're wondering like what thickness aluminum do you need for your decking, it all depends, right? 2 things to consider. How much weight are you good with adding to your boat? I'm going lightweight. This is 1/16 inch sheeting. The lightest I would do that's still pretty strong. So that's in terms of weight. And next, what are you adding sheeting to? On these little strips I need to do around these 2 hatch lids, I need to go thicker, and that's to compensate for the height of the lids as it relates to the frame. So I have 0.090, which is heavier aluminum, but of course I'm doing just little strips like this. One piece of 090 should level this off. Not perfect, but it's close enough to where I should not see any kind of dip in the turf. So just two things to consider. One is weight, and that's just to cover the general decking of the boat. And then you might have to go thicker or even thinner in some cases, depending on what you are framing around. This cardboard paper, or whatever kind of paper this is I'm using, is working out really well. It allows me to make my creases just with my fingernails and draw the line with a pencil. Just like that. I'm really liking this stuff. Again, I just stumbled on this at Home Depot and said, all right, let me buy it and give it a try. They sell it in a big roll, it's like 10 bucks. So I tape the paper in place, just using some painter's tape. You don't want your paper to shift, and then you draw the line in the wrong spot and then cut your aluminum incorrectly. You can see this is my edge, so I want the aluminum to go right here. I'm creating decking for right next to the hatch. What I did was hold my paper in place and just took my finger and ran it right against the edge. And you can see it forms a line. That's not the exact line I need, but it just helps me to get a good feel for where I need to cut. I then take my pencil and just shade that edge. So I will cut this paper right along this line. And what that does is get me right on, if not very close to the exact cut I need. You barely have to use any pressure to make the cut. I'm gonna do a little shortcut because I feel this is a good piece to do that with. And I have a really solid corner right here that I can just wedge this blade right into. All right, that pops right out. Just gonna pull this off. Now for this piece, you could cut this right now with the blade as well. I've done that on some of the other pieces around the boat. It doesn't come out as clean as a cut as this one. I mean, look at this, is a complete straight edge, fits right in there. I'm gonna pull it out. I'm gonna use a scissor just to play it safe, but you could also just cut that with this as well. There we have it, template is done. I literally did that with you guys watching. I feel like that took a few minutes to do. I'm gonna put this up on a sheet of aluminum, cut it out, bring it over here. Normally I have to do like 1 or 2 iterations, maybe trim off a little bit of the corners or something like that, but that's minimal. I'm not worried about that at all. This actually fits perfect. This is like the first time I've made one cut and it actually worked. I think I need to adjust these down a little bit. There you go. I can feel it sticking up underneath the deck. Yeah, so that's great. Just rivet this down right here. Probably do 8 rivets, 4 on each side. All right, you guys must be my good luck charm because that's the first time it worked out on the very first cut. This also saves your blades. If you're not cutting cardboard, it's easier to cut paper so your blades last longer as well. Now the other side is actually the last piece of decking I need to do for the boat before I can start turfing it. The only difference with this one is I'll be installing the GoPro/pole light for a nav light in the flooring on this side of the boat. I got this piece in, again, one cut, worked out really well. I have my hole drilled out. I will not install this yet. In the turf video, you will see that I will turf this and then I'll find my hole and cut out the hole through the turf. All right, I don't wanna install this and then have to lay turf, cut as I'm laying turf. That's not the way to do it. So stay tuned to the turfing video for that. It's now time to secure all of the aluminum sheeting. So I'm gonna be using countersink rivets to rivet all this stuff down, keeping it nice and flush so when I lay the turf, there won't be any bulges or anything. I'm gonna go ahead and start drilling out my holes. I just drew a line here and here where the track is that I'll be riveting down. I'm gonna go ahead and fast track through all of this. You guys get to watch the sped up version of this. So right here I have the piece of aluminum that is going to be my decking for the middle of the boat. This circle represents the base for the fish finder. It'll be located right here. So what I'm doing now is just doing a little customization to be able to mount the fish finder after I turf it. So this will be turfed. I'll cut out the circle base. That's what this is. This is for the base of the finder. And then I want to use self-tapping screws to mount the base of the finder firmly in place. I'm putting a piece of 090 aluminum sheet right behind it to reinforce it, because this is only 1/16 inch decking. And we all know we bump our fish finders or from the constant use and twisting and turning your fish finder over time does take some pressure. To compensate for that, just playing it extra safe, I cut out a piece of 6x6 .090 aluminum sheeting and I just taped it up with blue tape just to keep it in place. I drilled out holes from underneath, so I'm putting pressure down on the plate instead of drilling it from the other side where I'll be pushing this plate against the tape. So I just drew a circle here, just eyeballing it to mark where the circle is on this side. And I didn't do too bad. These two look pretty uniform. This one's a little bit out. My goal was to get it as close to the circle as possible to give it the most support. So what I'll do now is I'm gonna put 4 countersink rivets in here. Again, want it to be flush. This is where the HydroTurf will be laid. And I'm gonna rivet this in and then rivet this sheeting in the boat. All right, there you have it. Completely riveted in, and I'm not worried about underneath. There's foam underneath the decking, so these can just stick right into the foam. I'll go ahead and remove this tape. Guess I could have just left it on there, but no real need to. Of course, this will be hidden. I'll probably put some tape right here on the gunnel to know that the mount is in between the tape line, just to help guide me. And I'll probably do a measurement from the side of the boat to the mount right now where it is, just so that I can mark my distance. But for the most part, I'll just tape it up, eyeball it. Again, I did 6x6, so I have enough coverage in case I'm off a little bit when I finally install it. And I'll use self-tapping screws to screw this down. All right, so now I'm just gonna continue riveting down the deck, securing everything. Last step before we turf. So love the way the decking came out. Want to take time to cover some things that I think are really important when doing aluminum decking that I'm going to try to get ahead of comments that may come up or questions that may come up in the comments section. One, how many rivets do you use throughout riveting the deck or throughout riveting down the hatches? For me, and this is all from my point of view, use as many rivets as you need to. You know, rivets don't add a lot of weight to a boat. If you feel you need 8 rivets, if you need 10, if you need 20, if you need 5 or 3, just use that many amount of rivets to make sure that you are securing down whatever it is you're riveting together. Secondly, how do I rivet this stuff down? What's the process? So you'll notice in the video, it's basically a 3-step process. And this is for countersinking rivets. Everything I did for the decking, I use countersink rivets. That way it's completely flush. When I lay down the turf, there won't be any bulges in the turf for the finished product. So 3-step process. You want to first drill out your hole, find the right size drill bit for the size rivet you're using. I use 1/8 rivets, so I used a 1/8 drill bit. Second step is you want to use a countersink drill bit to countersink your holes. That's what creates the flat flush finish. So you go right back over every hole you did and countersink them. And of course the third step, the most obvious one, is rivet the thing down, okay? Get your rivets in and you're done. And the third thing I wanted to go over is just like what other options are there to, as opposed to riveting down your deck. Could you screw it down? Sure, you could use screws and screw them down. I would imagine stainless steel screws to do that, especially if you want to be able to lift up your deck later. Now with using screws, of course the screws are going to show. And of course you could paint over your screws, try to hide them as best as possible. That's going to create some upkeep that you'll need to do as well. But it is an option. Secondly, cosmetically, if you're going to screw your decking down, you're going to end up cutting your turf or doing your carpet in several sections and it won't look as uniform, it won't look as clean. And then you also have more junction points where your carpet or turf will take wear and tear, and in the long run could lift up or just start to look a little worn. So that's something to think about. So if you're going to rivet everything down like I did, and this is a one and done, this deck is not removable because you will not be able to find the rivets. If you go that route, you want to make sure that everything you install below that deck is accessible through the hatches. So if you ever need to make some adjustments or troubleshoot something, you can reach it. And you can fix whatever you need to or replace whatever you need to without removing the deck. That's the ideal way to go. Up next, guys, we got the HydroTurf video coming up. That's an awesome video to actually go through step by step how to apply HydroTurf to your boat. As always, link below to the full playlist of this build from start to finish. Also, I get a lot of questions of what product did I use for this and that. Don't forget, product links in the description below. I try to put as much as I can. Also, I have a playlist that has tons of links to products that I did for my boat, so check that playlist, also linked below in the description. That about does it. The reveal is coming. Can't wait to show it to you guys. Thanks again for tuning into the channel. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, tap that notification bell. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. As always, guys, stay safe out there. We'll see you next time.